Oy, this thing is terrible. Yeah, that's better. No, because I can't read. It's just a.
Okay.
We're on early, so we can assure you of a continuous stream.
Can you read that?
Yeah, I can read. I very good read. Yes. America very good to me. Ma votre santé. Five seconds. Good evening. It's 7:00 here in the northeast of the United States, and this is Kunchab Tarduling, the Tibet Center, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And this is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically Stages on the Path to Enlightenment, which we are expanding now and giving it a modern twist, thanks to His Holiness Dalai Lama and Venerable Chodron presenting a modern Lamrim in 9, soon to be 10 volumes, which you'll see the way we'll proceed. But since it's a holiday, we'll also have a little poetry from Milarepa. We haven't had in a long time. And we'll do, of course, the inside chapter. All the prayers we say are on the Tibet Center website, and scroll in the FAQ section. Scroll down to prayers. If there's anyone you want us to pray for who is ill, please put their names in the chat box. I don't see it, but I'll get names at the end. The people who have passed away, rather, also, not people who are ill, people who have passed away when we do the Sutra Recollection of the Three Jewels. So we'll start. Prayer for the spread of the teachings in the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to the practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. And thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas, called profound illumination. And at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayat Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, mahasattva, should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagata rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with gods, humans, Asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. I hope I'm getting out. I think, Steve, okay, you're in. Good, so we are getting out. Okay, refuge and Bodhisattva vow, which we recite 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, great. Sometimes this thing falters and I don't know if I'm going out or not, so that's good. So tonight we have a treat. Since it's holiday season, we haven't heard from Milarepa in quite a while. He was on tour. He's booked fully, but he's back home now in Kunchak Tarduling for the holiday season. I doubt it. But anyway, this is a chapter called Megam Rempa. Me means is the clan, and Gam is the word for meditation in Tibetan. So meditator of the Me clan, M-E, or Me, I guess. Short. This is page 425, chapter 36 of this wonderful, wonderful translation done by Christopher Stagg, the late Christopher Stagg, 100,000 Songs of Milarepa. Great, great book. Very well annotated with good footnotes and good glossary in the back. Pardon me, excuse me, sorry. Namo Guru. While the Jetson Milarepa was staying at Nyanang Belly Cave, a merchant of the Mi clan came to meet the Jetson. The merchant developed unwavering faith toward him and offered all the material things he had to the father Jetson and his sons, his spiritual sons. Then, being instructed in how to enter the gate of Dharma, he meditated. An outstanding experience and realization developed in his mind stream. Obviously, he had the roots, and he triggered something from his past life. But because we tried this and we didn't get realizations right away, but I don't know. We haven't met Milarepa face to face. However, let's continue. He meditated and experienced an outstanding experience and realization developed in his mind stream. The Jetson gave the pointing out of the view, meditation, and conduct in union, and immediately the merchant saw the natural state of his own face and attained immeasurable delight and joy. Natural state of his own face we won't elaborate on here, but you can guess it's something like the ground awareness that they talk about in Mahamudra, etc. Following his receiving this instruction in the assembly rows of a Gana Chakra offering, Drigam Repa said to Mekom, "Do you have confidence in the Dharma?" Drigam Drigom, Trigom, Repa said to Megom. Drigam Repa is one of the students, said to him, "You have confidence in the Dharma and the key instructions. How have signs of experience developed for you?" Megom said, "Yes, I do have confidence in the key instructions given out of compassion by the root and lineage gurus. Whatever arises, whether it is happiness or suffering, I have no need for anything other than the key instructions of the guru, and I've developed a strong and stable motivation never to abandon mountain retreats." So he's at that level where he can handle this. The Jetson was pleased and said, "Yes, Megom, that is it. If you have confidence in the guru and the key instructions, you will be powerless not to give rise to experience and realization. However," the cat's annoying, "however, they will not develop quickly, so you must be able to meditate in mountain retreats." Then he sang this song of realization. "I bow at the feet of Marpa, the translator. All who are assembled here, Megom and so forth, contemplate and put into practice the song of this old man who has experience." This is Milarepa singing this. Always, when he starts his poems, songs, Marpa, 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 his guru. "Because my confusion has been cut from the root, self-awareness has dawned as my guru." The inner guru is awakened. If self-awareness hasn't dawned as your guru, then you must never be parted from the Siddha Lord, the external teacher. "All appearances have dawned as my texts. If appearances haven't dawned as your texts, then you must never be parted from the genuine teachings. Revulsion naturally arises for me. If revulsion hasn't naturally arisen for you, then you must never be parted from the antidote." Revulsion for samsara, that's basically it. And he's saying, if you haven't reached this level, then you have to continue practicing as we've described. "I have realized the unborn reality. If you've not realized the unborn reality, then you must maintain concern for karma, cause, and effect. I've understood samsara and nirvana are not two. If you've not understood samsara and nirvana as not two, then you must meditate on the union of the two truths. See how they are different nominally, but not different in other ways. They're complementary. I'm fully trained in the inseparability of self and others. If you're not fully trained in the inseparability of self and others, then you must never be separate from bodhicitta. Realization naturally dawns for me. If realization hasn't naturally dawned for you, then you must never be separate from discriminating awareness. There is no meditation and post-meditation for me. If there is still meditation and post-meditation for you, then you must practice the path of means in a solitary place. Experiences continually arise for me. If they do not continually arise for you, then you must never be separated from the three nose tips. What are the three nose tips? Get out of here. Naturally is a good note here. The three, quote, nose tips, Natse Tsum, are connected with Nadi Prana practices of the subtle body. So this is a tantric term. I have no idea what that means other than what's been explained. So seek out good gurus that could tell you this. I realize the three kayas are intrinsically present. If you not realize the three kayas are intrinsically present, then you must join the stage of creation and completion. The kayas are the three bodies of a Buddha. Dharmakaya, Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya. If you haven't realized that they are intrinsically present, then you must join the stages of creation and completion. There's Tantra stage of generation and completion stage, so creation and completion. For me, Milarepa said, the six consciousnesses are completely relaxed. If For you, the six consciousnesses aren't completely relaxed. Then you must not be separate from your commitments and samayas. Keep the rules now. For me, I'm gone beyond that. But of course, he's naturally ethical. Thus he sang. Megam was delighted and said, please accept me with kindness and give a single teaching that includes the pointing out of the union of view, meditation, and conduct. Milarepa sang this song of realization in reply. I prostrate to the Lord of blessings. The union of view is such a delight. The union of meditation, oh, such joy. The union of conduct makes me happy indeed. These three kinds of union are incredibly amazing. If you don't understand the union of view, how can you know all phenomena are dharmakaya? If you don't understand the union of meditation, how can suffering dawn as an ornament? If you don't understand the union of conduct, then how can revulsion naturally arise? The sentient beings of the six realms of samsara and the wisdom of nirvana are inseparable. They are of one nature. This is I practice here. Know this to be the union of view. The myriad appearances of red and white, male and female elements, you might say, and the wisdom of dharmata are inseparable, one essence in the dharmakaya. Know this to be the union of meditation. Like a water moon, it pervades everything. Like a rainbow, there's nothing to be identified. Like the light of a candle, there is radiant clarity. Know this to be the union of conduct. These are possessed by all sentient beings. They don't know it, but these are possessed by all sentient beings. They are the three types of union. Non-duality is the key point of view. Non-distraction is the key point of meditation. Union is the key point of conduct. These three inseparable is the key point of fruition. My son, you should practice like this. Thus he sang. All of the disciple sons generated a great positive motivation. Then when Megam went by himself to stay in mountain retreats, he said to the Jetson, please give me advice that will be easy to carry along with me. The Jetson replied, I have practiced in this way, and because of that, the good qualities have developed in my mind stream. You should also practice in this way. Then he sang this song of realization. I, the Yogi Milarepa, by looking nakedly see the essence, free of elaborations. What I see is like the sky. By resting directly, I realize the abiding nature. I realize the empty essence of all things. By relaxing at ease, wisdom holds its own ground. The clarity and mire of the river of awareness are separated, completely casting them away. I cut through concepts and recollections. I've resolutely cut off the abyss of the six realms through recognizing my mind as Buddha. I have no thing I wish to accomplish. When realization dawns from within, it is like the sun that rises over the darkness. The collection of concepts and afflictions, without contrivance, dissolve in their own place. Thus he sang. Megom was overjoyed, and according to his guru's instruction, he meditated alone in mountain retreats. By doing that, signs of experience of the paths and bhumis and outstanding good qualities of experience and realization arose in his mind. This close son of Milarepa, known as Megam Repa, benefited many fortunate ones to be tamed. This is the cycle of Megam Repa. So that ends that. Slowly, we're going to be exposed to all of his poems, or we mostly have already over the couple of years we've been doing this, but well worth hearing. These are a lot of technical terms that we don't understand, especially have resonance in the Kagyu system. But we had a little Mahamudra readings from the past few weeks or so, and so we might get an inkling. But study more. There's a lot of commentaries written on this. Check it out. There's a lot you don't even have to look up in a library and then go on in line. Anyway, you're never wrong when you follow anything Milarepa says. Excuse me. Now, let me see what the timing is so I can adjust. Okay. Tenzin, this is going to go off. You could take it out now.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, we have something in the oven. And my timer is about to go off. Tenzin, your ticket out now. If you need. Okay. This is His Holiness's book, Approaching the Buddhist Path. It's the first volume in a soon-to-be 10-volume series. 9 are already out. And it's a rewriting or representation, we could say, of the elements of the Lamrim in the modern idiom. Easier to understand, easier to take home with you and think. So mind and emotions, we started last night. And we talked about emotions and klesas, etc. Now we're talking, this is from page 45 of this book, Approaching the Buddhist Path, Volume 1. This is the way the Lamrim should be presented these days. And it's also an expansion because it includes inputs from the Chinese system of study, the Pali Canon, Sri Lankan Buddhism, Vietnamese. It's all encompassing in addition to the basic straight stages of the path, rearranged slightly. You remember His Holiness said that one of the Ganden Tippet says His Holiness teaches in a different way, not the same sequence. And His Holiness says, I wonder if that's a praise or a criticism, but he still carries on. All the elements are here. You read the Lamrim, you read this, no contradiction. So this is page 45, constructive and destructive emotions. When speaking of positive and negative emotions, Buddhists differentiate multiple meanings of the words for some emotions. So you get the Western meaning, the Buddhist meaning, Western meaning, Buddhist. For example, attachment. Remember that? Fear, anger. This cat's making me sneeze. And I probably allergy. Fear, anger, and disillusionment. We're going to talk about those things, those elements right now. Have multiple meanings depending on the circumstances, and it is important to distinguish the different forms of these emotions in order to avoid confusion. Very good advice. And I found that to be true. You take a meaning with you, that's not the meaning they're talking about in that context. It's the meaning we use in everyday life. And you get a little bewildered. So hopefully we'll clear that up now. Let's start with attachment. I want it. Yeah. Among the multiple meanings of the word attachment, one form of attachment is necessary for our physical and psychological well-being. Oh, not every attachment is bad. Think about it. Now, he'll explain nicely. I found this very, very helpful. A big relief. Another is one of what we call the three poisons. These are three afflictions that poison our own and others' well-being. So what's the difference? Let's hear it. The first form of attachment is spoken of in psychology and refers to a feeling of closeness or connection among people. For example, psychologists speak of the attachment a baby has for his or her mother. Such attachment or bonding with the mother or mother figure is necessary for the psychological well-being of the child. Oh, that's attachment. No, not in the sense of the word we mean it here. This feeling of closeness or attachment, we could say, is present in families and enables them to function together as a unit for the benefit of each member. Healthy attachment in a harmonious family has a realistic understanding of the other family members' capabilities and fosters mutual respect. It's the way it's supposed to be run. Similarly, attachment unifies the citizens of a country, facilitating their cooperation for the benefit of their society. This form of attachment produces good results. Buddhists have a positive use of the term as well. Bodhisattvas are said to be attached to sentient beings because they feel a tremendous sense of closeness and responsibility for the welfare of each and every sentient being that spurs them to practice. That's not a destructive emotion. That's very positive. Same word is trying to cover all these meanings. So we have to sort this out in our mind if we want to have successful sorting out of these ideas, successful meditation. Their love, Bodhisattva's love for sentient beings, invigorates them to do whatever they can to alleviate suffering and bring happiness. They do this with greater energy and joy than we ordinary people work to benefit ourselves. So you cannot call that a destructive emotion. More commonly in Buddhism, however, attachment, I can't pronounce the word, in raga, Sanskrit is raga, refers to one of the three poisons and one of the six root afflictions. So this is the negative connotation or meaning of attachment. This attachment is a mental factor that, based on exaggeration, here's the key, or projection of good qualities, clings onto its desired object. They're saying, Buddhists are saying, you have this kind of faulty attachment. You've taken that object and exaggerated its qualities, let alone seeing it as inherent existent. We won't go into that, but you've exaggerated. With attachment, we hunger after, crave, cling to, and become obsessed with an object, a person, an idea, a place, and so forth. We've over-exaggerated its qualities. Number one. When we succeed in procuring the object of our attachment, we are very happy. And I would add, for a while. But when that desire is frustrated, we become angry. I have to have it. Why can't I have one? Okay? We become angry, resentful, and jealous. These emotions, in turn, motivate destructive actions to procure or protect the cherished object. You could think about that very easily. You could find examples of that in your own and others' behavior that bear this statement out, this description. We can clearly see that the greed of a CEO for money or the craving of a sports or movie star for fame leads to harmful actions and suffering for himself or herself and others. When attachment is moderate, society in general considers it to be a positive emotion. There is a feeling of happiness or excitement at meeting someone wonderful, receiving a desired possession or being praised by the people we value. My boss said I was very smart. However, from a Buddhist viewpoint, such attachment is based on exaggeration, again. And while it may be captivating at the beginning of a new relationship, it will hinder the relationship from being harmonious and mutually beneficial in the long term. Got to think that one over. And I'm sure you've experienced things like this, or maybe you haven't. You've been very lucky. But this is because attachment leads to unrealistic expectations. You didn't carefully evaluate the thing, you exaggerated its value, and then when that's finally is seen, unrealistic expectations, what? You're frustrated. Buyer's remorse, maybe? Difficulties and disappointment naturally follow when we discover that the object of our attachment doesn't possess all the wonderful qualities we thought it did. Think about what you brought it home. A year later, it's on the curb. We'll give it to the poor. All right. This attachment is sneaky. I like this. It is sneaky. For example, when family members' affection becomes neediness and possessiveness and generates demands based on unrealistic expectations, it turns into unhealthy attachment. If someone's appreciation for his country makes him suspicious of foreigners on the basis of nationality or ethnicity alone, attachment has set in. Okay? Look at the newspaper or the web and wherever you get your news. This truth is borne out daily, moment by moment. So attachment is set in. This emotion can cause prejudice and discrimination, and the person may go as far as to deny others their human rights. Oh, yes. May go. It happens. Once I met a Chilean scientist who spoke of scientists being attached to their field of study. He said that any exaggerated clinging onto one's field of study, political belief, or religion is harmful. Exaggerated clinging. Okay? This man was not a Buddhist, but he understood that it is the mental state of clinging, not the object clung to, that causes problems. We'll mention it again. It's the mental state of clinging, not the object clung to, that causes problems. Clinging, you could say, oh yeah, but you see it as inherently existent. Of course, we're not talking about that now. We're just talking about the regular way we think without questioning the mode of being of things. You exaggerate something, it's got to have it, got to have it. It's the ego working. Then it's not reality. It's not the case, and reality in the long run will come up. Huh? In the case of a scientist, such attachment could lead to ignoring contrary evidence or even rigging the result of experiments or misreporting data collected from them. And this has happened, and we've seen court cases about this. Similar disadvantages accrue to a person attached to their own religion or political views. Some people ask whether it's possible to be attached to nirvana or to the Buddha. Aspiring for nirvana or to have the Buddha's qualities is not attachment. Why? He says so now. Because the mind is clear, and although it is attracted to its object, there is no exaggeration present. Key word. So we're getting around to the point now. There's no exaggeration present because the Buddha and nirvana possess magnificent qualities. So if we find ourselves in attachment, we got to have it, stop, try to stop. And think, am I exaggerating its value? Re-examine, reconsider the thing you want, the person you want, whatever, the situation you want. Reconsider it carefully. Otherwise, it's going to kick back on you, as they say. You'll eventually be very disappointed. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's got really good qualities, but you have to take the time not to trigger a need right away. It takes discipline. But not that much, just think it over. Don't be silly. Still, according to Prasangika viewpoint, now we're getting really heavy, deep. As long as there is subtle self-grasping, in this case, grasping nirvana or the Buddha to exist inherently, well, that's a little more advanced. Maybe we don't have this problem now, but we do underneath. But we don't want to talk about it now. But this is true. Eventually, if you're grasping it as inherently existent, that's the oxygen that attachment lives on. A more subtle level. In grasping nirvana or the Buddha to exist inherently, if that's the case, there is the potential for subtle attachment to arise. The Buddha has good qualities, you should require, but if you're thinking inherent existence, you'll have subtle attachment underneath it. But this comes later. Let's first take the gross attachment out of the picture. If someone then clings to nirvana and desperately wants to attain it as if it were an external object, then exaggeration is present in the mind. When this person studies and practices the Dharma, eventually the distorted aspect will be dispelled, and she will have a genuine aspiration for nirvana that is free from attachment. So go with it, study, see what happens, and eventually the negative part will fall off. We're dropped off?
No.
Okay, good. So he's giving you, His Holiness, giving you 3 reflections you could do right now. Very simple, common sense, analytical meditation. Number 1, what are some of the common meanings of the English word attachment? How do you feel? What's the meaning that you take from the word attachment? Only you know. So think about it for a second or so. Second reflection he has here. What are the disadvantages of the afflictive type of attachment? Okay, this we've all met. Things we buy and go crazy for, and then we get delusioned with. Putting ourselves through certain situations just to meet this or that person and get this or that status. We've been there, all of us, I hope. If you haven't, you haven't lived. Or maybe you're a yogi. You don't have this problem. Anyway, when the disadvantages come clear to you on a personal level, you don't have much trouble now getting rid of attachment. Because it's to your benefit. I'm overdoing it. Hang on. I'm not going to have that other drink. That's it. 3, it is easy to tell when attachment in the sense of affection and respect slips into exaggeration and experience. Is it easy to tell when attachment in the sense of affection and respect slips into exaggeration and expectations? That's a sneaky one. That you have to really scope out carefully. So the idea here is to generate a really smart awareness, more wisdom. Basically, this is wisdom. You're smart now. You're going through life avoiding a lot of pitfalls. Nicely laid out. That's the Lam Rim. By doing that, your life is more relaxed, mind is more spacious, and you proceed along the path. And it's free of charge, ladies and gentlemen. Available always at the Tibet Center, at least the advice is. All right, so much for attachment. Fear. Fear. Fear is another emotion that can be spoken of in two ways. See how carefully they are precise, surgically precise. In common parlance, fear is usually associated with panic, anxiety, worry, and distress. What about distress? No. Yes, I guess it happens. You're fearful. Oh no, we're going to get a bomb is coming, or this or that. Panic, anxiety, worry, and distress. Are these comfortable feelings in the mind? Of course not. So what do? It is considered a negative emotion because it feels so unpleasant and is often based on unrealistic thinkings. That's the common way fear is, and they're right, of course. From a Buddhist viewpoint, this kind of fear is afflictive because it is based again on exaggeration and self-preoccupation, ego, self-preoccupation, and it leads a person to engage in actions to make decisions that are unwise. You're acting out of self-preoccupation, acting out of exaggeration. You haven't scoped out the situation carefully. So the decisions you make in that mode of mind, that mood, or rather, are not wise. You could think about your own life in terms of this and prove the point to yourself. Another kind of fear has an element of wisdom. Oh, a positive view. It is an awareness of possible danger that causes us to exercise caution. They'll explain. While this fear may sometimes feel unpleasant, it is useful and is free from the emotional torment of ordinary fear. For example, awareness that you live in an area that is prone to earthquakes encourages people to make and heed building codes to, to protect buildings from collapsing. Right? People lay careful plans and take precautions without being immersed in uncontrollable panic. All right, let's prevent this if we can. That's a smart way to react. This wisdom fear, they coined a new name here, wisdom dash fear. Wisdom fear is also at work when we merge onto a highway. Aware of the danger of other vehicles driving at high speeds, we drive carefully, or you should. Aware of the danger of, okay, we drive carefully. Parents instill in young children a respectful fear of matches, for instance. In the above examples, fear is useful and is not afflictive. Nothing wrong with that. The panic element isn't there, number one. A wisdom element is there. The difference between afflictive fear and wisdom fear is the presence or absence of exaggeration. If there's panic, you can rest assured there's exaggeration because the panic doesn't help you. We're not talking about flight, fight response and all that, where the hormones, adrenaline comes into the body, and that has positive elements. As long as it's not exaggerating. Oh no, it's coming at us. No, it's a mirage. Stop it. When we are attuned to facts of the situation, fear is not distorted. But when we exaggerate some aspect of the situation, fear is unrealistic and what? Leads to suffering. Bang the drum. Certain meditations in the stages of the path are designed to arouse wisdom fear in us. You may have heard of this. When we meditate on the disadvantages of cyclic existence, wisdom fear motivates us to practice the path to liberate ourselves from samsaric suffering. That's not the same as facing fears that you are generating this deliberately. And it's based on a sense of reality. Yes, I'm not going to be around forever. Yes, the situation in life lasts as long as this body lasts. That's not an exaggeration. That's the stone truth. Okay? I think we all know this. We don't act on it. I don't act on it, but we know this deep down. So it motivates us to practice the path to liberation. The meditation on death is meant to provoke not an emotional, panicky fear of death, which is of no benefit at all. There's hell beings, there's roasting hells and all this. Taken the wrong way, that panic is of no benefit at all. What happens when you start? I don't want to think about it, and then you do something else. Go underneath that. The Buddhism, they're not stupid. These Buddhists and Bodhisattvas, they're very smart. A wise awareness of our mortality that leads us to set good priorities in life, abandon harmful actions, and live ethically and kindly. That's the right way. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to engender a wise awareness of our mortality, which is definitely there. And someone asked His Holiness about that. A lot of times he said, Buddha died. That's just part of life. End of story. So what are you going to do about it? That's Buddha's putting it on the plate. Buddhist Dharma is putting it on the plate. What are you going to do about it? I don't think you're going to go away with it. You're going to live forever? I don't think so. Oh, don't worry. You're not going to die. You're going to live long. Buddha didn't say that. He had impermanence. Moment by moment impermanence, really. But for instance, the 16th Karmapa, when he was in town, someone said to him, a wise guy, and he turned the situation around. Could you put all of Buddhism into one word? You know what he said? Impermanence. That's it. Smiled. Next question. Amazing. So in Thailand, some monks from the forest tradition meditate in fearful places such as cemeteries, jungles, and forests with ferocious animals. I guess they're all gone now as they developed everything. But anyways, they used to do. Before 1959, meditators in Tibet did the same. If panicky fear arose in their minds, motivated by the suffering that such fear produces, they would make a strong effort to generate samadhi, or the wisdom realizing emptiness, in order to overcome it. Now, these are really good meditators. They can click the switch and develop either a one-pointed mind that just focuses on what they want, not concerned with the fear, or emptiness, which wipes it out totally. These are real meditators, but they started like us. Ajahn Mun, M-U-N, Ajahn Mun, a famous ascetic Thai monk who lived in the late 19th and early 20th century, and his disciples practiced in this way, and there are many stories of them entering deep states of samadhi when encountering a tiger in the jungle. I'm not up for that yet, I tell you. I don't know about you. The great Tibetan yogi Milarepa, who we just heard from, by the way, practiced similarly and meditates in Chud lineage. Chu is Dharma. Chud is this cutting meditation. In the Chud lineage, deliberately invoke spirits and ghosts to spur them to generate deep bodhicitta and wisdom. Again, accomplished meditators. This is not for beginners like myself. If someone meditates on the sufferings of the lower realm and panicky fear instead of wisdom fear arises, what should she do? First, she should remind herself that panic is not the desired outcome of the meditation. It's not what we're trying to engender here. Then, realizing that she has the ability to avoid the causes of such a rebirth, she should turn her mind to the three jewels and take refuge in them. And that is recommended. That kind of healthy fear concentrates your awareness, and then within that concentrated awareness, you take refuge. That's going to stick. That's going to change character. Not instantly. Most stuff doesn't happen instantly, at least not to me. But over the long run, applying this method, part of your daily rituals, these things are built into a lot of the prayers we have to say. They have their effect. So, take refuge. Instead of allowing herself to be overwhelmed by this unrealistic fear, a well-trained practitioner, keyword well-trained practitioner, will use it to reaffirm her connection to the three jewels. You're not alone. And the three jewels have the power to really wipe out any problem. So how do you get to that feeling of confidence about the three jewels? You study, you read, you take your time, and you sincerely look into their qualities. Not just, three jewels, my home, yeah, and go on. Fine, that helps. It's not really going to help. So that's up to you. Again, internal discipline, we talk about all the time. Maybe we don't. We should. Some scriptures speak of using, His Holiness goes on, of using the presence or absence of panicky fear as a way to examine whether or not a person is an arhat. An arhat, someone who saw emptiness directly. When the person is meditating or sitting casually, and someone makes a sudden, sharp, loud sound, if the person does not jump or gasp with fear, it is said that he has attained high levels on the path. You want to test yourself? Go right ahead. According to this example, it seems that some level of self-grasping is present when an ordinary person experiences fear, but is absent when they are liberated from cyclic existence. Makes sense. Sometimes it is said that bodhisattvas fear samsara as well as the personal peace of an arhat's nirvana. They don't want to go near complacent peace. Sentient beings are suffering, and only part of that. They have the same fear of that as they have of samsara. Amazing beings. While the word fear is used to indicate their unwillingness to stay in either of these states, it is not the fear that we ordinary people experience. Our fear is usually based on self-grasping and self-centeredness, while bodhisattva's fear is underlain with compassion and wisdom that wants to attain Buddhahood in order to benefit others as soon as they can. So this myth of bodhisattvas denied entering to Buddhahood until everybody says that's false. You want to become a Buddha as soon as possible so you can be of optimum benefit to other beings. So this myth still persists today. I've seen stories, to this effect, blah, blah, blah. The great bodhisattvas deny the religion. No. When it comes up in some of our studies, we'll examine the three types, like a ferryman, like a shepherd, types of bodhisattvas. But anyway, they don't delay their enlightenment. In fact, they try as hard as they can to become Buddhists as soon as they can. His Holiness said someone who's at a certain level should practice and must practice Tantra to achieve Buddhahood as fast as possible to be of benefit for others. So we'll lay that to side. Anger. We have time for anger. We always have time for anger. It comes on us. Most of us would agree that in general, anger is a destructive emotion. Nobody bets against that. Under its influence, we speak in ways that break at the trust in relationships with people we care deeply about. Oh, yeah. Overwhelmed by anger, are you listening, husbands and wives, etc., and so forth? Overwhelmed by anger, we act in ways that are dangerous and destructive to our own and others' well-being. Are you listening, politicians? While we often believe that our anger is justified, any sane person would be angry in this situation. We say, of course, I'm angry. Anybody who's normal, yeah. Shut up. That doesn't alleviate the downside of anger. There is a downside of it. When we later calm down, we can see that our mind was exaggerating the negative qualities of a person or situation, or even projecting negative qualities that aren't there. That happens. Some people argue that some forms of anger are constructive. For example, if a student is wasting her time and not actualizing her potential, her teacher may become angry. This anger stems from the teacher's wish that the student succeed and, from the perspective, could be considered a positive form of anger. Some people say. Nevertheless, we need to examine each individual situation and check our motivation carefully, if we're the teacher especially. It is easy to justify abusive behavior by saying, I'm doing it for your own good. We've all heard this. Moral outrage at injustice in the world is another form of anger that some people say is beneficial because it leads to constructive change in society. But here too, we need to examine if exaggeration is present. Years ago, when Chodron, this is the editor chiming in, was at an anti-war protest, I saw another protester pick up a brick and throw it at the police. His action shocked me into realizing that his mental state had become like the mental state of those who were responsible for the war. Oh, yeah. Think about it. This is tricky. There was bias for his own side and animosity toward the other. He was protective of those who agreed with him, but sought to harm those who didn't. It's all too easy in a situation of conflict to forget that people on the, quote, other side are human beings who want happiness and freedom from suffering just as we do. If you don't realize that, you're going to drive yourself crazy because you can't throw a million bricks at everyone, at every situation in the world. Look carefully. They're all human beings that want happiness and freedom. We have to be skillful if we want to change these situations in the world. That's what I hope we're doing here. Painting them as thoroughly evil and never to be trusted is definitely an exaggeration. others trust him. So sometimes, I don't know. Anger is not the only emotion that can motivate us to tackle social injustice. Compassion can be a strong motivating factor as well, because a compassionate mind is concerned with the well-being of all parties in a conflict. There is greater chance of, since that's the case, that a compassion can be a strong motivation. A compassionate mind is concerned with the well-being of all parties in a conflict, then there's greater chance of reaching an outcome that benefits everyone. Okay, hope you got that right. There's a chance that a good result will occur if compassion is the motivating factor. We are able to think more clearly when we are free from anger. Arya Bodhisattvas who are liberated from cyclic existence have no anger whatsoever. If they see one person harming another, they have compassion for both people and intercede to avert the harm. They see an aerial view. The guy harming the other one's going to suffer just as bad or worse. Compassion does not mean being passive and ineffective. Rather, it impels us to act assertively when appropriate, but without anger or hatred. As they've done in the lab, they've shown that when meditators or experienced meditators are told, meditate on compassion, what lights up in the brain, the pathways, the motor pathways, the parts of the brain that say, get up and do something. It's oh, those poor things, and they wallow in pity. No, they want to do something about it. These are real, compassionate bodhisattva meditators. It is difficult to experience the emotion associated with anger, hatred, resentment, vengeance, and so on, the whole salad, without some degree of hostility towards others. When we closely examine such emotions, we find that they are based on self-centeredness. There it is again, that character that comes up. As such, from a Buddhist perspective, emotions falling under the umbrella of anger are distorted and harmful mental states to be abandoned. Having said that, we must be careful not to confuse anger with assertiveness. A person can speak out or act firmly and forcibly without being angry, just as an angry person can be passive and withdrawn. Passive aggression. Oh, yeah. Sutrayana, the path based on the sutra, sees all instances of anger as based on distortion and hence damaging. Tantrayana, the path based on the tantras, speaks of using anger on the path. In our discussion, His Holiness speculated that when a bodhisattva practicing tantra speaks harshly to someone, the causal motivation, the initial thought to do the action is compassion, but the immediate motivation at the time of the act is anger. One difference between this anger and ordinary anger is that ordinary anger wants to harm or punish the person, while anger that has been transformed into the path aims to stop the person's harmful actions. This is, again, surgical realization of the different nuances of a situation. We just get used to these things, these thoughts, look carefully, and then we can actualize this kind of mindset. A bodhisattva has tremendous concern and compassion for the person and uses fierce action to stop him or her from harming others and from creating destructive karma that will later ripen in his or own suffering. That's it. In addition, the bodhisattva has deep wisdom that realizes that the agent, the action, and the object all lack inherent existence. The three spheres are all empty of inherent fixed existence. In speaking of the possibility of using anger in the path, a guideline is warranted. Since we beginners lack the requisite compassion, wisdom, and skill to transform a destructive emotion into the path, it is better for us to apply the antidotes as taught in the Sutrayana path and to practice restraint. We may not be ready for this high practice. If we do it and we're not ready, we're going to hurt ourselves. So, we have time for disillusionment? Yes, we have a little time for disillusionment. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, the real estate guy said it was a good, well, we commonly speak of disillusionment as a negative emotion because it brings unhappiness. When we feel disillusioned because a person does not turn out to be all we thought he was, we feel uncomfortable. And it may lead to despondency, depression, and in some cases, cynicism. This happens because we previously constructed an unrealistic expectation of the other person, clung to it as true, and now we see the falsehood of it. Pick up and move on. You saw it. Think of it as a benefit. You took the hit. You learned something. That's the way I look at it. But not all disillusionment is bad. When we contemplate the defects of cyclic existence, the shortcomings of samsaric rebirth, and the deceptive nature of temporary pleasures, we feel disillusioned with chasing after a type of happiness that we can never secure. The deck is stacked. Forget it. We're in samsara. Good morning. From a Buddhist viewpoint, this disillusionment is positive because it will lead us to aspire for liberation and create the causes to attain it. Being disillusioned with cyclic existence, practices are happy to relinquish their attachment to it. Although disillusionment makes our mind sober, we need not be despondent or demoralized, because there exists a remedy to the misery of samsara. Apply the cause, get the result. Okay? Such disillusionment makes the mind peaceful and is conducive for cultivating deep states of concentration, because it frees our mind from needless worry about the concerns of only this life, which is less. As long as our breath chain goes on, as long as we have this body. So that's that. I was going to go into the Lamrim chapter. We only have 6 minutes. Maybe I'll do 3 minutes. I don't know. Let's see. We really don't want to open that can yet. So we'll start on the next session with the 13th chapter of the Insight section, volume 3. Maybe we'll do a little introduction with Guy Newland's book. Take it, a little slower. So, for whom will we pray? We have Pamela Game, Garner. Oh, it's Garner. Oh, yeah, cut out with you put a heart icon there. Pamela Garner. Who else? Anyone else? Going once? Of course, naturally, those in the Middle East, in Ukraine, in Darfur, Congo. We can go on. Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great jnana, they enter completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So this ends our presentation tonight. Next Dharma class will be Tuesday night, the 28th. We'll be live on the Lower East Side at University Settlement House, 273 Bowery. Check the website for how to get there. And the next, the 29th, will be back here again at the Parsonage in South Orange. There's no presentation this weekend. So thank you very much for your patient listening. Big love to all of you. Happy Thanksgiving.